away my disposition and possess me some harlot spirit. A beggar's tongue make motion through my lips. I will not do it, lest I cease to honour mine own truth, and by my body's action teach my mind a most inherent baseness.
That is a modern take on Shakespeare's tragedy, Coriolanus. The new movie features Vanessa Redgrave, Gerald Butler, and Ralph Fiennes, who not only plays the title role, but is also the director.
And just this morning, Britain's BAFTA Film Awards nominated him for Most Outstanding Debut by a British writer, director, or producer. Go Ralph Fiennes. He joins us in Studio 57. It's really good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I've been watching you a long time, so we all know how good you are in front of the camera. You decided that you wanted to direct for the first time. Were you nervous?
Of course I was. It was.
Of course you were?
Yes.
See, I would have said no.
No, first time, and I took on a huge, I mean, it was a Shakespeare play that not many people are that familiar with.
Yeah.
It's a tough piece, confrontational piece, but I believed it could work as a strong political thriller. But I had played it about 11 years ago on stage, and then it became this obsession to make it into a film. I just thought that this could work as a film if we edited it aggressively and found a good cinematic context for it.
Suggesting that's a kind of Shakespearean message for contemporary times in this film?
Well, I think Coriolanus is always a piece that's relevant. I mean, it's got economic unrest, an unhappy population, it's got conflict, and it's got a crisis of leadership at the centre of it.
Powerful characters in conflict.
People politicking and manipulating for positions of power. The eternal conflict that we're all in that never stops.
Yes.
People never stop killing each other.
Yes.
And now at a time when, everywhere around the world there's great economic uncertainty, and this is the background to the story.
Had you been thinking about directing for some time, and you'd been sitting, I want to do this?
I had, and I think it's odd if you're known as one thing as an actor, and I think there's the moment you open the door and say I want to do something else, it's people's response is interesting. I mean, I think for some actors it's a natural transition. Plenty of actors have made the transition. I think you work on films, you become curious about, and more than curious, you want to be part of what it is to put a film together.
So, working as an actor, you were always thinking about directing and watching what was happening and see how the director evolved the film.
Well, I've been lucky enough to work with some great directors, Anthony Minghella, Fernando Meirelles, David Cronenberg, all extraordinary directors, and amazing to be part of their process. And I suppose working for directors like that, Catherine Bigelow too, you start to get, it started to interest me what it would be to direct a film.
And so what lesson did you get away from everything you learned from them?
There's so much more to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at Coriolanus and I'm proud of it, but I see so many things that, due to my inexperience, I would like to fix.
Like what?
Yeah.
Well, some of them are technical things, just compositional things with the camera. But also, I think it's hard to watch yourself, so I'm never, in my own performance, there's so many things I'm uneasy about.
It's probably always that way for you, but especially when you're directing yourself, that must be especially difficult for you.
That was very hard, and the days when I wasn't acting were kind of relief. And I loved working. I mean, Vanessa Redgrave is extraordinary in this, and I think
Gerald Butler.
Yes, and he's great. I mean, he plays the nemesis. We face off against each other, and Brian Cox too plays a political insider.
Directors I have talked to have often said that the most important job for a director is casting, getting it right.
Well, the first person I knew I wanted was Vanessa Redgrave.
Yeah.
She plays my mother, and because at the centre of this piece, which is a political drama, you have this mother-son relationship, which is essential, which has always moved me about it.
Right.
When I first saw it years ago, it was the mother-son face-off, which comes at the end, which is the great humanising factor in a piece that people find difficult, because the politics are confrontational, but it arrives at this mother-son, what I call the umbilical moment.
Yes.
Because no one can escape that.
When did you know, though, Ralph Fiennes, that you wanted to be an actor, and did you ever give any consideration to changing your name? Only because every time it's R-A-L-P-H, which a lot of people would pronounce Ralph, and the last name, a lot of people would not pronounce that the way it's pronounced. Did you ever give any consideration to changing your name, and when did you know, this is what I want to do?
The name thing came up often, and it still does.
Where people say, hey, Ralph.
Yeah, it's a quirky Old English pronunciation of Ralph is Rafe, and my father named me after a relative of his, and I wanted to honour that version of that name, and my surname is Fiennes. But I know that when I did Schindler's List many years ago, Stephen Spielberg said to me, you should think of changing your name. And I suppose I thought, this is my name. I don't want to change it. I have often thought I maybe should have changed it, or at least changed the spelling.
Seemed to have worked
maybe
out
change
okay.
the
Yeah,
spelling.
change the
Anyway,
spelling,
it's out there now,
yes.
so there it is.
Yeah, I think you
Yes.
did quite well. One last quick question about language, Shakespeare to film. What's the challenge there?
Well, Shakespeare is, I think, the greatest contemporary writer we still have. I
Right.
think his understanding of human beings, whether they're in love, whether they're at war, whether they're fighting for positions of power, his knowledge of human psychology and heart is really profound and continually inspires us. The challenge in film is that you have to cut a lot. And I work with John Logan, who...
And cut a lot is what I have to do. Is say
I
thank
can
you
see,
very
I
much.
can see the look. I got to cut him off. The long answer, Rafe. Sorry.
Coriolanus opens its Friday in theaters nationwide. That does it for us.